You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your host for today is B. Allen Bourgeois.
And welcome to Dear Texas Radio. This is B. Allen Bourgeois. I'm the producer and tonight's host for this show. And as we've indicated, we do want you to drop everything and read, but please, as I've said before, don't break anything. That's not what we want you to do. Instead, we want you to pick up a good book and just relax. Let the pressures of the day, pressures of the week just pass you by as you enjoy a good book. And to help you find a good book, we have with us today Denise Bryson, who has written several books, and we will be talking about the 2 that she's written, plus the 3 that she has coming up. So welcome, Denise.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. How are you today?
I'm doing super, thanks. You've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to just jump kind of right in and just go with what we've got. Excuse me. So your most recent book is Love's Reality, which is a poetry book. And I'm assuming, based on the title, it is about love and passion and journeys. Is that correct, or is there more to it?
Yes. No, it is. It's about 4 facets of love, of the love relationship. It was about a love relationship with God, a love relationship with oneself, about being single, and it was also a love relationship about as I said in the book, I said beloved and accepted by God, and I'm beloved and accepted in relationships, and then singleness, internal love, and acceptance, and then the next is loving and accepting life. And so it's about those 3 things: loving life, loving oneself, loving your significant other, and then loving God. So that's what that book is about.
And that's a lot for people to really understand and to grasp, because each one of those is not only independent but also a combined effort that really encompasses one's reality and one's true essence. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, it is, because it's really, when I was writing these, and I've been writing these for some time, like over a couple of years, not a couple of years, but over some years, and then when I think what happened was I entered a contest, a poetry contest. I entered like 2, and I won, and so then my poems actually got published in the book, and I thought, well, if somebody else thinks enough of them to publish them, maybe I need to publish them myself. And so that's when my publishing journey began. And so I wrote these things in times when I was going through certain places, and these are things that it seems like the Lord would just give me stuff, and I would just start writing. And so I wrote the very things. And so then when I really looked at all of them and began to read them, I said, well, I'm really talking about four facets of a love relationship. I'm talking about a relationship with God. I'm talking about a love relationship with someone else I might have been dating at the time, or looking, in that direction, and then about even loving myself. Because for anybody to love you, first thing you got to do is learn how to love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, how can anybody else? And then the next one is just starting to live and love life, because you have to. This is the only life you got. You don't have no spare in the closet. And so you need to get out there and enjoy yourself.
Exactly. Matter of fact, one of the things we're talking about it being love, which is very strong in the Bible, and also then through other religious aspects and beliefs, is love thyself, love thy neighbor as you love thyself. And as we've seen immensely in the last 10, 20 years, it's becoming more and more difficult for people to really show that loving of the neighbor, because they're not learning how to love themselves. So it's great that your book is covering that aspect.
Yes, because I think as we go through life, and sometimes we encounter a more selfishness in life than we ever have before. And then, like you said, people don't love themselves because of, various things that may have happened to them along their journey in life, and then it's caused them some, to be in some bitter places or be in some low self-esteem places. And so then it causes them not to love even the people that are around them, and some of them even not even their family members. They're struggling with that, and some of that comes with some forgiveness in their lives and things like that. So I kind of address all of that because I talk about, when I think about unforgiveness, I do talk about in the section that says about loving God, I talk about forgiveness because I think about how he forgave us in our journey, in our life, and the things that we may have encountered or done, that he was so loving enough to forgive us, and how that if we would love ourselves enough first to forgive others and then forgive ourselves, because some people have trouble forgiving themselves. And so even though they might have encountered or asked God to forgive them, they still hold themselves in bondage. And so it's good to, once you've asked the Lord to forgive you, he forgives us. But then sometimes we continue to hold ourselves in bondage with, keep bringing the same thing. Oh, why did I do this? Why do? Instead of just beginning to really grasp hold of what even God's way of forgiving, and forgive yourself, and then forgive the ones that might have hurt you. Because I always tell people that, giving someone is not necessarily releasing them from what was done, but it is releasing you to heal.
Correct. Right. And that's
so
the most important thing.
Yes.
As you're saying, that healing of yourself is more critical and more important than anything else, because it allows you to move forward in life. And you touched upon that through a Christian aspect, which is, where you're from and stuff. And I don't want you to be offended in this in any way, but it's also something that is taught in the other religious beliefs as well. Begin to forgive the situation or the person or whatever has happened in order for you to heal yourself. And so no matter what religion you are, you could definitely read Denise's book and get something and understand something and grow from that.
Yes. I think it's because I try not to just center in on one thing, but try to write it from a perspective that anybody could grasp hold of it and get something out of it. And I think, that is kind of the way we have to do nowadays, is because we want people to be delivered. And I always tell people, I say, well, you don't have to believe like I believe, but, let's talk about it and see where we're going with it, and see if it can be a benefit to you, just the conversation or the techniques that are used to come to this better place in your life. And one of my favorite points, this is one funny, I have some that are really my favorites, but one of my favorite ones is, and I was thinking about this, it's called waiting or procrastinating. And I talk about that one, and it's still in that same chapter. I believe it's still in the same chapter it's in that same chapter where we're talking about the love relationship with God, I do believe. I'm getting confused myself. But anyway, that's one of my favorite ones. But one of my favorite ones in that first section, oh no, it's in there, waiting on procrastinating. Yeah, and it's in the section where I said beloved and accepted by God. And I don't know, it's a short poem, but I said I was going to read it if I could. And
sure.
Because to me it's befitting, because this is what sometimes our problem is with our own self. It says, waiting on God, are you really? Have you assessed your situation? Have you made sure there is nothing you can do? Or is it that you are just procrastinating, calling it waiting, using God as an excuse, sitting around complaining on your caboose? Procrastination, the hindrance of life's progress. We say we are waiting on God, but in reality we are making excuses for why we will not do what God has told us to. So are you waiting or procrastinating? And even though I talk about that in a way with God, but that's kind of a life lesson. Are you waiting or
cover design, because it's for people on the cover of their head, and that's what you think of at first, but if you really look closely, you actually see it's 4 highways that are interlinking, creating these images of head. So let's just real quickly, give me a brief intro as to what this particular book is about and why you named it.
Well, when I was writing these, and it just came. That was the thing that came to me. The things that crossed my mind, because that's really what it is. These are the things that I crossed my mind. I've been thinking about. These are poems of things that have crossed my mind that I'm thinking about. And then so that's actually a photo that I found, and then I purchased it, so that I could use it. And when I saw those 4 highways, because I kept struggling with what to put on, what would be the cover for this book. And when I found that, I was just so excited, because I had even went out and took pictures of highways crossing, because I thought, this will be it. And then when I found that, it really made a lot of sense, because that's what I was really talking about, the things that crossed my mind. And I've got some other. This is really going to be a series, because I got some other poems of the things that crossed my mind about the young ones, which are children. So I wrote some kind of maybe youthful poems about that, and the things that crossed my mind about comedy. So I got about 4 or 3 other books that will come out with that same title, but they will have separate focuses. And so, and I kind of have those already written. I just need to kind of, work through it. I've got it all separated out. I've had it since I've done that one the first time. And so, and just to get those out and about, out, it's just taking that time. But then it seems like I keep going in other directions with other books as well. And so, and at one point I had a little newsletter, kind of like a little magazine that I was doing, that I write very little short stories in. So I do that as well. And so it's just all of that stuff comes to my mind. I think my mind just be going like a whirlwind, just real quick, and I go from one thing to the next. So just trying to focus my own attention on one thing is what I have to struggle with in my writing.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop you there. We just have a few seconds left before we have to step away. Where can people find your books?
They can find my books on TexasAuthors.com. And then they can also find them, of course, on Amazon and even on my website. I have a website. It's called Denise Bryson Ministries.org. You can order it from there, or you can order it also on Audible, because I have To Love's Reality. I actually do have a audio book, and it's really nice because it has a little jazz music playing in the back, and then I'm doing all the poetry. I did it all myself, and then I got someone that gave me some music for theirs to use as background music. So you can find it in those areas.
Great. And I'm going to have you repeat your website a little slower this time.
Okay. It's Denise Bryson Ministries at .org. That's what I was going to say, at Gmail. That's my email address. But it's Denise Bryson Ministries.org. Yes.
All right. Great. And we will step away, let our sponsors do their things, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
This is Beyond Bourgeois, and I want to tell you about 2 books I have in front of me at the moment. They are from 2-time award-winning author Lori Rowley. Her books are titled Mim's Little World and Mim's Little World 2. And yes, believe it or not, Mim's Little World 3 is in the making. The stories are very sweet, very lovable. They are beautifully handwritten and illustrated for ages 2 through 7. Discover these precious books and even get your copy signed at lorilee.com. That is LORIROLIE.com. And we will be right back after these brief messages.
Dear Texas would like to thank our sponsors. McKinney, Texas has a rich history, one it embraces and loves to share with visitors. Nowhere is this more evident than McKinney's historic downtown, with more than 100 eclectic shops and eateries to explore. Situated just 30 miles north of Dallas, McKinney offers the perfect getaway from the urban hustle. For more about McKinney, check out www.visitmckinney.com or call 888-649-8499. The 3rd annual short story contest begins March 1st and runs through July 31st. Enter your short story for a chance at prizes and getting published. To learn more about this annual event, please visit our website at txshorts.com. Dear Texas would like to invite you to the McKinney Square Book Festival on June 3rd, 2017. The event will be held at the Performing Arts Center from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Meet 40-plus Texas authors, many of whom have won awards. Special events will take place during the day, and a special musical guest, Billy Dawson, will perform at 2 p.m. For more information, please visit our website, mckinney.deartexas.info. Wimberley Valley Tourism welcomes people to explore the many fine shops, restaurants, and wineries that make Wimberley special. More at WVTLA.com. From concept to casting, recording to post-production, Spoke Media is dedicated to creating a superlative listener experience. www.spokemedia.io. EBG 247, where you can find ebooks galore 24 hours, 7 days a week at ebg247.com. You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your host for today is B. Allen Bourgeois.
And welcome back to Dear Texas Radio. We are talking with Denise Bryson, and we had spoken earlier about her 2 books that are currently published. Excuse me, Denise has 3 books that are getting ready to come out. And so I'd like to spend the next few minutes talking about that, if that's okay, Denise?
Yes.
All righty.
I have.
You have 3 of them. 2 of them are children's books, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But let's talk about that other one. So why don't you give us a little hint as to what we can expect with this new one?
Well, the new one is going to call the sex, and I am better than this. The lies, hashtag, when silence speaks the truth, and then the soul ties, broken chains of freedom. And so it's really talking about 3 different areas. And when I talk about the sex and I talk about I am better than this, I'm talking about it from a more of a single perspective, because I'm talking about, just people getting in all kinds of relationships, and then they seem to go nowhere. Like maybe you're wanting a committed relationship, but people, it's so much game playing being done in this decade that between men or women or whatever, they make you think they want you, and in reality all they really want is sex. And so it's talking about those types of things right there. It's talking. So I have some poetry, and these are all poems exactly. Poems, and I'm talking about these poems, and in these poems there's just different things that have come to my mind, and some of them I have never had to experience in my life, and so it's kind of like I get up and the Lord. I always feel like the Lord gives me this stuff, so He gives me something to write. I get up and I start writing it. I start writing, and then I'm thinking, who in the world is this? And so that's why I get so interested. I get so intrigued by the authors that I've interviewed that say, they say that these voices start talking to them, because I feel like that's what's happening to me with this particular book here, is that these people are talking and they want their story to be heard. And so it kind of comes off like that, and so that's what this book is about. And so I'm talking about all kinds of things. I'm talking about, celibacy, male abstinence, reality sex, where you're in a relationship with someone and they make you feel like that they really, really love you, but in reality, it's just still this sexual relationship, and there's nothing more, nothing coming out of it more than that. They don't want to be in a committed relationship. It's just all this. So I'm talking about a lot of relationship stuff with this even, but from a different perspective. And then I'm also talking about the lies and the things that so many people have been through, so many situations where, there's so much people being taken advantage of as children, and just all kind of situations. And so these voices begin to speak, and I was like, oh my God, where is this really coming from? But even in some married relationships, of how the infidelity and things like that. And of course, I've never been married, so when I talk about when this stuff comes to me, believe me, it's coming to me from someplace else, because I don't know, because I've not really been in a marriage relationship. But these poems have come to me, and I even got a poem talked about following unforgiveness, where someone is looking for a relationship, but the person that they end up in a relationship had a disease, and so they end up in a place where they are now sick, and so the other person, and then they just become this bitter person, and they begin to infect other people because they're so upset about what happened to them, and instead of becoming an advocate for something, they become actually a killer. That's what I would say. And so just things like that with the lies, and then of course the soul ties is it's a lot of different things that have come to my mind about vices, how we use different things for vices that, maybe, because I always tell people that any of it could be addictive behavior. It doesn't have to just be alcohol or drug addiction. It can be sex addiction. It can be food addiction. Whatever it is, it's addictive behavior. It just depends on how it affects you. And so I'm talking about some stuff like that, and this level of pain is one of them that is called, and it's talking about being violated and things like that. So there's a lot of that in there, but I always bring it back to the Lord and how He can help, and He can He can help through these situations and things like that. I talk about rejection. I talk about a bunch of stuff in this particular book. So it's a little different than the other book. The other book was about more kind of a joyful tone, but this is more about kind of some reality things in life that have happened to over time to many people, and just telling stories. So I actually feel like I'm telling other people's stories.
Which I understand has something to do with money. Is that right?
Yes, it's I have a passion. Well, I have a nonprofit actually that I'm starting for children, and one of the aspects of it is about teaching children about wealth, and so I'm starting these children's books. We're kind of a start for it, and they're like for different age groups anyway. But the first age group that I started with was from 4 to 5. Or 3 to 5, I think it's actually the age group, and it's just teaching them about money. And the idea that came to my mind was about Blinky. Blinky, I don't know where I got Blinky the bank from, but anyway, Blinky is actually an ATM machine with eyes, and he blinks and he talks, and so he's introducing the children to his friends, the coins, and then the second book is him introducing the children to his friends, the bill family. And so I talk about, the different types of coins and what they're worth, and then we even do some and hopefully with this book, I hope to have my goal is to get a video game as well that they will be able to kind of play with the money and be able to, learn how to make change or count different, dimensions of money together and things like that. And so that's kind of what both of these books are about. And they're just introducing children to the coins and to bills and things like that. But his name is Blinky. And also Blinky will have a bank where they can save, and the bank will kind of talk. It'll say whether they, if they take money out, it'll say how much they took out, how much they need to pay back. Just teaching children about money and the aspects of borrowing and paying back and things like that. And so that's the goal with that.
And that's a pretty hefty goal. And the type of items you're having with that's going to be a challenge. Have you been putting the word out to help find sponsors to help cover the expense of creating all that?
Well, that's what. So the book is going to come out first, and so I'm hoping that my goal was to hope that the book could help to fund some of the other aspects of it, and then it could be one package. I would love to be able to put it out in one package, but I thought, well, let's get it moving and get some popularity, and then hopefully we can bring these other things into place. I have talked to some invent help people to see, what the cost of those things would be and things like that. So that's what I'm working on now, that aspect of it, and even trying to find somebody to do the video part of it. Because, kids like the electronics, and so I feel like something electronic needs to go with it.
Great. So real quickly, if anyone's listening and wants to help on this project, how can they reach you?
They can reach me at Bryson D0802 at yahoo.com. They can reach me there, or they can call, and here's my I got a 1-800 number that they can call. and it will reach me. It is 1-800-751-3033. And again, that is 1-855-751-3033. And again, my email is, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, give them your email again.
Oh, and my email address again is BrysonD0802@yahoo.com.
Wonderful. We have just a couple minutes left. What else have you got planned in the future?
Well, I'm working on some short but I'm going back to just doing it on my own, and then I will be putting stories out, and I'll be putting that out there on my website. And then I have different types of stories in it. I get a lot of things. I have one, and some of these are kind of like interviews with people. Like I'm interviewing a gentleman, and he's going to the topic of the interview, and then we'll write a story to go with it, is being the father that I would like to, being the father that I wanted. Instead of, sometimes I didn't have a father, I'm a father, but can you be of the father that you wanted? And so, and being that father to your children versus still harping on the fact that your father wasn't available, or that, and same thing for the women, mothers wasn't available, whatever.
I was 21 way back when I had a 70 Chevy and a few girlfriends, had an older brother that looked like me. That's how I got my fake ID. Yeah, we had beer and rock and roll. Cigarettes weren't all they smoked at them gravel pits outside of town, where we skinny dipped and threw around our attitudes. Son, it didn't start with you. Hey, I was 21's too.
Have a great day.